Okay, if you fight us back and charge us taxes, we kill you.
Mm.
I don't know. It's crazy. They also didn't like religions. They were like shamanists, very open-minded,
Yeah.
and they were like, "What the fuck are these like Islamic guys coming here and telling us what to do?
Right.
Like telling us like you cannot preach this anymore." So they were
How
just
long
like,
ago was Genghis Khan?
"How long?
800 or something?
800 years ago."
800 years ago?
That's kind of like the moment which changed the world.
Yeah.
Like the empire eventually collapsed by
How
this
many
idea of
people was
like
he traveling around
like
with?
25% of Earth is basically one country.
Yeah.
Any like tax free, you have your own currency. So I think Mongolians changed the world, but like for my country, it was just like devastating. Yeah,
How big was the army that Genghis Khan was traveling with? You don't know.
but I think the population was like of planet
Yeah.
was really small, maybe like much,
Mm.
much less than a million. So
A million on the
probably
whole planet?
yeah. Oh, not million, not much,
Billion.
much less than billion. Yeah.
Yeah.
So probably like even if you have like 20,000 people, it's already a huge army. I don't know. You have to check Wikipedia. I don't know this stuff.
It's good though. It's interesting.
Somehow we survived through this and we kept Christianity. Yeah. Mongolians wanted to demolish Christianity, but as soon as they left, we started building churches and so on. So there are still churches which are like 800 years old, a bit even more, in Ukraine and even like in my city. After this invasion or something.
Who's the Ukrainian president now? Is it the same?
Zelensky.
Still Zelensky? And how do Ukrainians feel about him generally?
Well, it's complicated. He was kind of like a populist in the beginning, but as soon as the war started, he was like, okay, it's like either me or nobody because
Yeah.
nobody's gonna take over in this situation, right?
Yeah,
So-
you know Americans how they portray him.
Um, they wanted to evacuate him, and
Well, like when they show Zelensky on TV in the U.S., they show him as a comedian that's like playing piano with his peanuts. Have you seen that?
um, yeah, it's part of his image, I think.
Did they play?
So-
Did they look at him in that
yeah,
way in
so,
Ukraine?
yeah, of course, everyone knows. Like,
Yeah.
we watch these TV shows.
But did they like that, or because they kind of say like, look, Ukraine is like has a
Yeah,
this
but we
weak
know his
leader.
progress, right? Like he was comedian when he was like 15, 20.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And he opened like not broadcasting, but like kind of like he became a producer. He started making shows.
Yeah.
Eventually, he opened like a telecom company. It eventually became an international business. So, kind of like by the moment people are portraying him as a comedian, we knew that he like is really rich. So, he kind of like has no reason to like destroy the budget to just like become richer. And at any point, it's easier for him to resign and just move. For example, to he has property in Italy, so he can resign any moment and move legally, no questions asked. Yeah. Well, like we are happy that we have like some kind of like an artistic person who can transfer emotions, like pass
Yeah.
emotions, maybe, because it's really hard to explain how it feels to.
Greetings, empath, and welcome to the channel. My name is Dr. Nanajasi, transformational coach here at Inner Mileage, where we help folks understand the trauma-informed basis of limiting self-beliefs and how to take informed action to overcome it right here, right now. Today, we're going to talk about how, after narcissistic abuse, the empath awakens this sense of magic, right? Because most conversations about narcissistic abuse begin with one question, or the essential question being, why did the narcissist do this to me or that? But the deeper question that often leads to transformation is different. And is what awakens inside the empath after the abuse ends. Because something remarkable begins to happen when an empath breaks free. See, the empath's perception sharpens, the empath's intuition deepens, and the awareness expands. And slowly the empath begins to realize what they once called sensitivity is actually a form of latent power. And throughout history, individuals with heightened perception were often described with different words: mystic, healer, seer, magician. But to understand this transformation, we must first clarify something that has been misunderstood for centuries. And here I want to define magic. Magic is one of the most misunderstood. The magic with a K is one of the most misunderstood concepts in human history. Because in modern culture, it's associated with superstition or fantasy, you see. But historically, magic referred to the science of how consciousness interacts with reality. And the word magic comes from the Persian term magus or magus, right? Which is actually a representative of this magi concept, being a magi, an emperor mage, you see. And it's about realizing that your magic is ensconced in this. In fact, Hermetic scholars describe magic as the art and science of causing change in accordance with will. And this definition was made famous, I think, by, most people know Aleister Crowley, but it reflects a much older tradition rooted in Egyptian Hermetic philosophy, where Hermeticism, Hermestus, Megistus, Tehuti, taught that reality operates through underlying principles. And the 7 are things such as the principle or the law of vibration, the law of correspondence, the law of polarity, the law of gender, the law of rhythm, the law of cause and effect. These are all key laws, right? The law of correspondence, I said. These principles are summarized in the famous axiom, as you heard, as above, so below. Meaning the structures governing the cosmos also govern consciousness. And modern physics, interestingly, echoes this aspect of this insight I've just shared with you. Quantum physics demonstrates that the observer effect affects measurement outcomes at the subatomic level, meaning your consciousness is always shifting the field. Energy, I can tell you, energy goes where your attention is focused. And this is not mystical fantasy, but through attention, interpretation, and behavior. And magic, therefore, can be understood as intentional interaction with these laws of consciousness and perception, you see. So, for example, here I want to go into the work of Bobby Hayward, who's taught largely on magic from the Hermetic perspective. And the force underlying these magical principles are known as Heka. But Heka was not seen as a supernatural power, and was understood as a creating energy of the universe. And the gods did not prefer Heka, they used it. And Heka was this principle that allowed thoughts, word, and intention to shape reality. These are elements of the noble eightfold path. An Egyptian priest believed that human beings could access this power through the properties of thought, speech, action, spelling, you see, word, sound, and power. And these correspond to what modern psychology calls cognition, language, and behavior. Thus, magic, in a Hermetic sense, was simply the disciplined alignment of thought, word, and action with universal principles of gender, polarity, correspondence, and so forth. And when these forces align, change becomes inevitable. So, going deeper into this, to understand how this works in daily life, in practical life, we must examine perception. And here we'll go into neuroscience that shows that the brain does not passively perceive reality, and instead it predicts and constructs reality. Do you see? Now, this theory is known as predictive processing. It suggests that the brain generates models of the world. Do you understand this about your brain? Your brain generates models of the world and then updates those models based on incoming information. This is what your brain does. In other words, your beliefs influence what you perceive, your parallax view. Your perceptions influence your emotions. The conditioned reality that's often spoken about in the Dharma. Your emotions influence your actions. And your actions influence the environment around you. And this chain reaction creates what many may call manifestation. Not as a mystical wish fulfillment, but as the cascading effect of perception and behavior shaping outcomes. So magic, therefore, is the conscious use of alignment, using your body as this tool to interact with the external world, starting within, and then that alignment externally vibrates as well, and that oscillation creates something in the field, you see, because you don't exist in a vacuum. You exist, there is emptiness, but the emptiness is filled with protons and atoms and electrons, you see. So when we talk about the empaths possess a nervous system that is unusually sensitive to emotional signals, and neuroscience has identified increased activity in areas such as the mirror neuron systems and the insula and the anterior part of the brain, which are the parts of the brain that I say this not as a brain scientist, but to illustrate where emotional and social information is processed. So this heightened perception allows empaths to detect subtle cues that others miss. This is in all the brain science research that demonstrates that when empaths grow up in environments with narcissistic personalities, this ability becomes distorted. So instead of using your sensitivity to insight, it's used for survival. See? So the empath begins to monitor emotional danger. Try to regulate others by suppressing the empath's own needs. And this conditioning temporarily hides the empath's power. But when the empath awakens from narcissistic abuse, the same sensitivity transforms and becomes discernment. And it's that discernment that protects an open heart, you see. And by the way, if anything in here I'm saying to you connects, type transform in the comment section or book a free session with me at innermileage.com. So narcissistic